First up, a Fox 5 investigation. When you take your car to the shop, you probably worry about whether the repair will be done right and how much it's going to cost. But there are other reasons for concern. A Fox 5 investigation found some mechanics take joy rides in customer cars or leave them wide open instead of locking them up. Fox 5's Elizabeth Leamy has our report.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your car is?
It is absolutely wrong.
When Lewis Lee dropped his Land Rover off at a shop he had never used before, he recorded the mileage on the odometer just in case. Sure enough, when he got the vehicle back, it had been driven 84 miles. What went through your mind?
What happened to it? Where did they take my car to?
Lee had brought the car in to repair a minor door ding, so it's not like the body shop needed to take a test drive. Some jurisdictions actually require mechanics to take a test drive to verify that their repair really did work. But authorities say the shop should get your permission before driving the car extensively. Shop owners are supposed to exercise reasonable care to make sure your car and its contents are safe. But do they? Yikes. Somebody goofed. We visited 3 independents, a chain, and a dealership after hours and tried the doors of customers' cars. All in all, more than a quarter of the cars we checked were wide open.
If I thought about it, I would take everything home. Everything.
Reputable mechanics carry something called garage keeper's insurance, which covers your car if it's damaged or stolen while at their facility. However, if they took reasonable steps to safeguard your vehicle, they may argue that your insurance company should pay.
They will know when, in fact, the damage should be their responsibility, and you should feel free to press them on that.
If you can't come to an agreement, you can make a claim through your own insurance company, then ask your company to pursue theirs for reimbursement. That way you get your deductible money back and the claim doesn't count against you. It's your responsibility to make sure you're dealing with a reputable mechanic. And the time to do that is long before you need one.
So how do you make sure that your car and its contents are safe at the shop? Joining us now with some advice is Michael Anderson. He's the owner of Wagonwork Collision Center in Alexandria. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Well, there are general areas for tips. One, things that you want to ask of a reputable garage owner and things that you should do yourself. So why don't we start with things you want to ask the garage owner when you bring that car in?
I think it depends on whether you're asking about the repair of your vehicle or the security of your vehicle.
The security, with the security
issue.
issue.
If you're asking about the security of the vehicle, you may ask them where the car is going to be stored at in the evening, ask them if their employees are bonded, if they test drive the vehicle, who will be allowed to test drive the vehicle, and things of that nature.
Right. And also you can ask and say, you want to get my permission before you test drive over, say, 3 miles, 4 miles, something like that.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. In most cases, most of your professional facilities are going to automatically already have an authorization form, and on that authorization form it should clearly state out what they're going to be doing and what they would be doing.
And talk about some of the precautions that you take there at your own shop. For example, you say you put your cars inside a fence.
Yes, ma'am. Both of our facilities all the cars are locked up inside of a secured fence with barbed wire along the top. We also have an alarm system, and should that alarm system goes off, it actually pages myself or one of my other employees, and the police automatically get notified to show up.
All right. Let's talk about some tips, things that you would ask your customers to do. So first of all, you're saying the customer record your odometer reading. That way there's no dispute when the customer comes back, right?
Yes, ma'am. When somebody drops off a vehicle, what we do is we go around the vehicle and we mark all the old damage with them. When I say old damage, that means door dings, if the wheels are curved, anything like that. We also go with the vehicle owner. We actually verify the mileage, how much gas is in the vehicle, and we also go through all the functions to ensure that all the lights and door handles, etc., are working before the owner leaves the vehicle with us. Not only does it protect us, but it also gives the owner a feeling of confidence of what's up with their vehicle before they leave it.
Right, so a reputable garage owner won't object if you say, hey, let's go around the vehicle, let's note all these things, and that's what we're showing right now. You've noted these things, this is the condition in which you're getting the car, so there's no dispute that any damage was caused by you when the car was left.
Correct, yes, ma'am. So it's a win-win for both the shop and the consumer.
The other thing, just remove your personal belongings just in case, right?
Yes, ma'am. We always ask all of our owners. We actually have a letter that we give all of our customers when they drop their vehicle off, asking if they have anything in their vehicle that's of value. That we do trust our employees, and they are bonded, but just to be on the safe side to remove it.
And let's face it, a lot of people don't realize you got those CDs in there. That can be hundreds of dollars. Some people leave their cell phones wide open. I've seen that. What other things do people leave in their cars that astonishes you?
You know, we've had vehicle owners actually leave guns in their vehicles. I had a customer last week that actually, one of my employees came to me and said, Mike, this customer left $500 on their console. So some people are I don't know if they're trusting or they're naive.
Right, probably a little bit of both, trusting or forgetful about the things we keep in our cars. All right, also, anything else you want to add?
Most of all, just make sure that you develop a relationship with a customer before you have an accident or before you have mechanical work that you need to have done. So you develop a personal relationship with it, and it's a trusting relationship.
Right, so that way if you do have a problem, you're taking it to a mechanic, you already have identified one that has these procedures in place.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And also, I would also encourage everybody to take a tour of the shop, meet the technicians that are working in your car, see how clean the shop is. If you go through a shop and they've got parts stored on top of the cars or inside of the cars, you have to ask yourself, do I want my vehicle to be treated this way?
Some good advice. Michael Anderson, who's the owner of the Wagonwork Collision Center in Alexandria. Thanks for the information.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Back
Bye-bye.
to you.
All right, thank you, Julie. We've got more news now for drivers, and this really affects anybody who's got a car. It's a debate over something that's called the right to repair. Should the government require automakers to share the latest high-tech diagnostic equipment so all mechanics can get a shot at your business? Fox 5's John Henrihan explains why the issue is now before Congress.
Modern automobile engines are jam-packed with high-tech electronic gizmos that make the car run. To repair these cars, mechanics are required to use computerized diagnostic machines. And many independent mechanics complain that auto manufacturers sell them the high-tech stuff much later than they sell it to their own dealerships.
We are seeing the cars and we cannot diagnose them properly, and or we go to a certain point and we got to release and send them back to the dealers because the manufacturer has released it to the dealers but not to the independent repair industry.
Yes, they are withholding purposely because they want to keep that work in-house. They're in the business. They want the business as well as we do.
A proposed new law would require auto manufacturers to share more diagnostic, repair, and servicing information with independent mechanics.
A spokeswoman for General Motors couldn't say whether her company sells the high-tech diagnostic stuff to its dealers faster than it does to independent mechanics. She did express concern about a congressional mandate forcing GM to give up proprietary information that it spent millions and millions of dollars researching. A spokesman for the Alliance for Auto Manufacturers went further, characterizing the proposed legislation as a parts bill designed to benefit the aftermarket manufacturer of auto parts.
Since aftermarket parts tend to be less expensive than manufacturers' parts, proponents of the bill say consumers will benefit if the Motor Vehicle Owners' Right to Repair Act passes. In Washington, John Henrihan, Fox 5 News.
So if you're having a problem under the hood, how do you know if you need to go to a dealer or go to a dealer for those repairs? Well, car makers say they are living up to that voluntary agreement to provide up-to-date information to independent dealers. But some independents say it's still costing them too much. Joining us now with a view from one independent, Michael Anderson. He is with Wagonwork Collision Center. Thanks so much for coming in. First, let's just get you on the record about this right to repair bill. You support it, don't you?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Why?
Well, because of the fact that it's kind of a myth that only dealerships can do the mechanical or collision repair work on your vehicle. However, as an independent repair facility that does mechanical and collision work, we also have the opportunity to gain access to this information.
All right, but let's talk about some of the dilemmas that you face on a day-to-day basis. Simple thing, for example, or should be simple, like replacing the battery. Now, typically you say an independent should be able to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am, correct. Basically, in the old days, you could take and you could replace your battery, and it didn't require the resetting of any lights for electronics, such as airbag lights, ABS lights, and things of that nature, or a simple recoding of your radio. However, now, sometimes on certain model vehicles, if you go to replace the battery, you may have to go ahead and reset those lights. If that's the case, then an independent shop has to have access to the software or the codes or the information in order to be able to reset those lights for you.
And is that automatically available, or you have to pay for that software?
Generally, you have to pay for that software. There are certain aftermarket companies that provide that software on a subscription fee. However, part of the right to repair law would be the fact that we as independent repairers would be able to take a laptop or computer and go and download that online and just pay for it by the hour, by the minute, or by the page.
All right. Give us another example of something that used to be very typical that just about any independent could do that now just gets a little tricky with the electronics. What was the other thing you mentioned?
The ABS brake system.
Right.
In the old days, again, when I say the old days, you could just basically put some brake pads on a car or some brake shoes and you could bleed the brake system. However, now, because of some of the electronics are involved, you may have to diagnose the brake problem by hooking up to the computer, or what's called an OBD, onboard diagnostic, which is located usually under the dash of most vehicles, to determine what the cause is of that brake problem.
Right. The other thing you mentioned, for example, the exhaust. You can tell if you got a rusty tailpipe,
yes,
but you can't tell the emission standards, for
Correct.
example.
Yes, ma'am. Again, you can take and you might see that an exhaust is rusted out, or maybe it's broke loose, or a hanger's broken. That's something you can do without a computer or software. However, to pass emissions tests and things of that nature, and to make sure that you have the proper fuel or oxygen mixture in order that your vehicle runs properly, you again have to have software or computer to get a diagnosis on it.
All right, so help me out. If I'm the consumer, I go to a mechanic with my car, I like, the idea of going to an independent. What questions am I supposed to ask to find out if you can service my vehicle?
Well, I think one of the things that you're going to start seeing, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, is that most mechanics and collision repair shops become niche experts, meaning that because of the cost of the software and the hardware and the constant up changes, that they may not be able to fix 20 different vehicles. They may have to specialize in just 1 or 2 vehicles or 3 or 4 vehicles. It's maybe like an Asian or European or domestic, or maybe like Ford's or GM, so that they can be able to afford the diagnostic equipment for that and the software.
So again, it's just a question to ask. Do you have the software that now goes with the car, basically?
Yes,
okay. Anything else we need to know by these?
I think that a lot of people need to keep in mind that for the Information and Right to Repair Act, a lot of people seem to fault the dealer for that. They get angry with the dealer. It's not really the dealerships. It's actually the OEM manufacturers, the people that actually build the cars. And this is also something that doesn't affect just mechanical shops, but also collision repair vehicles, because some of the information to fix your new vehicles, maybe like the new aluminum vehicles for Audi, BMW, and some of the other Acuras, if you don't have the information for collision repair, you may be limited who you can go to as well.
All right, we'll end it there today. Thanks so much for coming in, Michael Anderson with Wagonwork Collision.
Yes,
we appreciate it. Back to you in the studio.
All right, look, thanks for